the top 20 leadership mistakes. Let's take it away. Everybody hear that okay? Good.
All right, we know leadership matters in business. How well you lead determines how well the company grows. How well you lead your team determines their performance. So today I want to address the top 20 mistakes I see leaders making in business. And by addressing them, I mean show you solutions. Because even if you're making only 2 or 3 of these mistakes, they could be costing you time, money. They could be costing you people too. So let's dive straight in. Number 1 biggest mistake I see leaders making is a lack of vision, okay? The lack of vision. Where are we going? Not just the day-to-day goals and that sort of stuff of management, but a vision. Where are we going in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 3 years? What is the vision for the organization? Now, I always like to think of a vision as like a guiding light, a North Star, a lighthouse, the 100-year goal, I guess, is sort of the thing. And if you look at, for us at Action Coach, our vision is world abundance through business re-education. See, a vision isn't just, let's make $10 million, okay? That's not a vision. That's a goal. It doesn't inspire people. A vision has to inspire and enroll. There it's 2 main tasks. So make sure that you're focused on where you're going. Now, that doesn't just mean writing a vision statement. It also means each week, each month, each quarter, being visionary about where are we going this quarter? What are we doing? See, if you don't get them focused on the stars, they keep looking down at the pebbles type thing. Focus people on the stars and give them that vision so that there is something for them to be focused on and moving towards. Number 2 biggest mistake leaders make. Ignoring core values, okay? First of all, not defining the core values of the organization. It's culture document. Again, if you want an example, jump on actioncoach.com. You'll take a look at our core values, or as we call it, our culture statement, which defines who we are. See, the vision is why we do what we do, and the culture statement is who are we doing that? Because a big part of leadership is defining who we are and why we do what we do. When you think about the result of having that core values clear, it allows people when they join the organization to see an alignment of values, to know, yes, this is a place I want to work. This is a place I want to be a part. It allows your customers to see your core values and know that this is a place they want to be a part of. That is leadership. Diversity and inclusion can't happen if we don't have our values clearly stated out there to the world. If people like to feel like they belong, and a part of that is knowing that, yes, this is the similar people to me. These are the groups that I want to be a part of. Number 3, a leadership mistake, not recognizing achievement, not saying thank you to people, not going, hey, good job, well done. And it doesn't need to be the whole employee of the month thing. It can be a simple text message. It can be a simple note to someone, a simple email, a quick phone call. Hey, I noticed the work you did on the X job. Fantastic. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate all you're doing. That simple recognition of achievement and thank yous, very, very powerful part of it. Number 4 biggest mistake is poor communication, okay? Or even a lack of communication. Leaders need to learn communication. If you haven't gone and studied how to be a speaker, if you haven't gone and done some courses on understanding human behavior, the communication, the NLP stuff, understanding behavioral profiling, you need to, as a leader, go and train yourself in communication. Communication is not a born skill. It's a learned skill. So learn communication with your people and do more of it. The more you communicate, the better off your company will be. Number 5, not developing their team. This doesn't mean like team building. It means building the people in your team, getting them through training programs, having them coached, having your people get better allows your company to get better. The more you build your people, the easier it is to lead them. As you help them become more accountable and take more ownership of the organization, they, of course, as they get better, they build their people to be better. A rising tide floats all boats. The more you train the organization, the more you build the organization, the better you will be as a leader because your people are performing better. Number 6, and I really think this one is a killer for a lot of leaders, favoritism. Okay, teamwork doesn't allow room for favoritism. Teamwork doesn't do that. You as a leader have to make sure that there isn't favoritism to different people. You have to turn a blind eye to that stuff. You've got to build that team, and you've got to be a strong enough leader to be able to make sure you treat everyone equally. Now, you'll coach them and mentor them differently because they're different. They have different behavioral profiles, different other things. And if you haven't done our leadership training, I would highly recommend you take a look at both our management and leadership training programs for yourself and your team, I guess. Number 7 biggest leadership mistake is not seeking input. Just making the decisions blind, especially if you're that ivory tower leader who's never even met some of their people, never walked around their building. And, I remember coaching this one particular gentleman, and he had a very large construction company. And I said, when was the last time you're on a job site? He hadn't been to a job site in years. It's like, dude, you've got to get out there. You've got to go meet your people. The only way to be a great leader is to be amongst the people for a period of time. Not all the time, but get out there and seek input, ask for input. Always, always, always. Surveys, different feedback formats, meetings, you name it. You can get feedback in many different ways. Number 8, not leading change. A great leader leads change. They don't have to change. They lead the change. Being inflexible, being stoic and just, no, this is the way we've always done it. Great leaders lead the change. They don't wait for the change. They don't get forced to change. They lead the change. Okay, on to mistake number 9, a lack of accountability. Accountability is a big part of a leader's job, holding people to account to get the job done, to get their work done. It's easy to say, oh, well, they'll do it, and not worry about it. And, oh, I don't want to be a micromanager. No, this is not micromanagement. This is about holding people to account. Did you achieve the result in the way it needed to be achieved by the time we agreed it to be done? Holding people to account. The fact that people know you will check, the fact that people know you will be certain to be the one to check up on it is an important factor. I know as a business coach, one of the things that, if I can be blunt about it, my people know I'm going to ask. My coaching, when I'm coaching someone, they know that by next week, this has got to be done because Brad is going to ask. And they get it done because someone is there to hold them accountable. A big reason why business coaching works is the accountability factor. Number 10, doing it all themselves, the lack of delegation. A leader that is the choke point of an organization kills the organization. It's not leadership to do it all yourself. Leaders delegate. Leaders allow others to do the work for them. Leaders bring out the best in others. The greatest thing a leader can do is have think time, not be so busy that you don't get time to think and solve challenges. Make sure that you are not the do everything yourself person. Train your people, give them a system to do it, and then measure that they're doing it type thing. Number 11, ignoring team feedback. I had to learn this one, I guess, is probably the simplest way to put it, that your team, if your team is not giving you feedback, go back to the previous ones of seeking input. But when you do get the feedback, listen. As much as sometimes it's hard to hear, and I know for me, there's been times where I can be stubborn. I can not listen. But ignoring feedback from the team is a big leadership mistake. If it comes in one time from one person, okay, yep. If it comes in 2 times, if it comes in that 3rd time, there's probably something in that. You need to start looking at it. That brings us on to number 12, ignoring customer feedback, okay? A great leader in business listens to the customer. Now, if you as the leader of the company aren't meeting with customers, then there's a problem, okay? If you're not listening to your customers, if you're not doing things like, I know for us, we do a franchise FBR survey every year of our franchise partners to find out what they're thinking. We do surveys, net promoter scores of our customers to find out what they're thinking. We've got to ask these questions to be able to make great decisions out there in the marketplace. And when we get it, we got to listen. We got to learn from what they're telling us, not just ignore it and move on, okay? Speaking of ignoring, mistake number 13 leaders in business make is they ignore market shifts. If there is a trend, if there's a level of innovation, if there's a level of technology adoption, and you're not on the forefront of that, maybe not always on the forefront, but at least in the group that's moving in that direction type thing, if you are ignoring a shift in the market, then the business is going to struggle. You know, that's a big part of leadership. Leadership is sometimes often referred to as one of those lonely roads or that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be. You build a great team around you. They help you see what's going on. They help you take their feedback, the customer feedback, watch for market trends and market shifts. I think it's important for us to do that. And I guess that's why it's important as leaders to keep up our education, to keep ourselves learning and growing so we know what's going on out there in the market. Number 14, not breaking things. I hate that old thing of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, break stuff, pull stuff apart, play with it, do new things, test on it. Now, not with the whole company, but with a section of it, with a part of it, learn new things, find new stuff, do different things. I can't tell you the number of consultants and educators and coaches that me and my team have that help us break things and put it back together in a different way. Keep learning, keep growing, break stuff, break it apart, start again with it. Number 15, biggest business leadership mistake. Focusing on growth over profits. I know I've been guilty of this in the past. Sometimes we've got to be patient for growth to make sure there is profitability, because without profitability, growth kills companies. Okay, bad financial decisions come from lack of data in most cases, but bad financial decisions, growth over profit is a big killer in a lot of companies. So keep those financial decisions strong. And if that means surrounding yourself with great financial people to help you make those decisions, do that. If you're not an expert in it, don't pretend to be. Get the advice of those who can give it to you. Number 16, this is a big mistake I see business leaders making. Overworking. Both yourself and your people, right? Overworking yourself. A lot of business leaders go into that and they burn out and they don't have the energy or the effort to take care of themselves, to take care of their team. They don't have the energy or effort to take care of their family. And that's a killer in a whole other way, a different subject. I just think that, and if you overwork your team, then you're crushing them too. People need time to think. People need time to be in relax mode. People need that time. So you need to be able to give it to them and allow them to do what's needed. I see a lot of business owners in particular, they're like, well, my staff don't work as hard as me. Of course they don't. They don't own the place. If they wanted to work as hard as you, they would open their own business, for goodness sake. Stop thinking that way. Don't overwork yourself. Don't overwork your team. If I can tell you, back in the day when I first started in business, I thought that the right thing to do was to work 16-hour days, 6 and 7 days a week. I wore it as a badge of honor that I would sleep in my office or be in the office before anybody and be the last one to leave type thing. And some people say, well, isn't that the reason you succeeded so young? I think it was what held me back from succeeding a lot more. Unfortunately, my hard work covered up areas of the business where we needed to change things and we needed to do stuff differently. I'm not saying don't work hard. I think hard work's really important, but overwork is the killer for most business leaders. Number 17, lack of investing in the future. Okay, if you're a business leader, you need to invest in the future, and that could be technology, it could be training, but that lack of future investment is just putting you behind. It means you're going to get forced into change rather than making the change. You're going to get forced into, you get your back up against the wall and you have to come out and, don't put yourself into a negative just so you have to fight through it type thing. I've seen that with some sporting teams where they'll only perform if they're losing or they're down type thing. No, you have to get on the front foot. You have to invest in that, in your future of the organization, be that people or be that technology or systems or whatever it might be, brands, marketing. But investing in that future is a big part of it. And having that mindset as a leader to invest in the future is really important. Number 18, poor decision making. Listen, I had to go and take training on how to make decisions. Because a lot of times I was just doing a gut decision, not actually doing some form of analysis type thing. I ended up, through that training, I had to learn, and it took a while for me to get this one, but I had to learn to say to people, let me think on that for 24 hours. Let me just come back to you on that. Let me read some stuff about it. Let me, to not make the decision instantaneously so that I was making a good decision, not an instant decision. I had to learn that sometimes fast decisions were costing me a lot, and I had to get better at making decisions. And therefore, I had to work a system for making decisions. It meant me going away and doing training on it type thing. Crazy as it is, had to happen. Mistake number 19, not knowing what leadership is. So what is leadership? Leadership is really two things. Number one, passion. Number two, focus. If you can build passion in your team and bring the passion out of your people, great leadership right there. If you can keep your people focused, great leadership right there. Don't make it about 100 things. Don't make it about 4 million this, that, and the other things. No, leadership, keep yourself focused. Passion and focus. Are my people passionate about what we're doing? Are my customers passionate about buying from us? Are my customers passionate brand advocates for what we do? Are my team focused? Are my customers focused on the future for us? Am I keeping that happening? That, my friend, is great leadership. And finally, number 20 mistake that business leaders make, no succession planning. Not planning for the future, not planning for someone to take over when you're gone. You've got to have succession planning. You've got to build the business to know that someone needs to take over. Who is that someone? Where is it? Are you building them? I know for me, building the people in my company is one of the greatest joys that I get. Building them to be better executives, better CEOs, or better CFOs, or whatever the title of their job is, but building great people, hence being in the business coaching and mentoring business, I guess. So listen, if you're not working with an action coach, make sure you do that. Jump in, call them actually, and find out about our leadership training, management training programs, all the training programs, and all the coaching programs that we offer for you to help you grow your business and your team of people. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Keep coming back for more. Subscribe. Make sure you follow with me and keep coming back so you can keep learning.
All right, let's see here. Jeremy, you're the best selection, the upper left-hand corner. Tell me, you've seen this a couple of times. So
Yeah.
you've been through our leadership and management training, but new learnings are different. Like you catch things different ways, and when you're in a different, as time passes. This time around, what were one or two things that you got out of this?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the best things I would have to say about this is anytime I hear or see one of these videos, especially if it's one that I saw a couple of years ago,
Right.
I'm listening to it with different ears,
Hmm.
so things make sense in a different way, and especially effective to what I'm doing currently in my business, and so immediately out of the gate, great leaders lead with change,
Hmm.
um, especially having now some employee retention, one of which has been with me almost 3 years. So she is one who falls victim to habits and is very and likes to form habits and
Hmm.
create them. So I am someone who changes, and so leading
Right.
that, helping her through that, and getting her to process these changes and seeing the value is incredibly important because you got to keep people on board because then she needs to lead my people
Yeah.
because she's my manager. So.
Yeah, and
Um,
let me add to that that they're not she's just not going to change on her own by and large. She's not going to grow on her own um as fast as she would without support, deadlines, and accountability. So knowing that that's the leading her through change, it's not just going, "Hey, you need to change, rah rah rah," but leading is far more than just hyping somebody up to do that, but it's keeping them focused. Leadership is two things, passion and focus. So you keep her focused on the change. And also you got to provide deadline support and accountability to do
That
so.
was my number two is accountability.
Yeah, go ahead. Expand more. What do you mean by that? What,
No, well, my number two. So as I was listing off my, because now I mean, action coach, the processes and knowing that I'm going to be asked what I'm numbering prior as I'm listening to these things, what my takeaways are. And my number two was the accountability, holding people accountable for things. So when you do implement something new, sometimes that doesn't happen right away. So the ability to come back to them and say, hey, listen, I did ask you to do this. It's something that we're doing now from now on. Can I ask you, can I get you to commit to doing that next time? And you generally say, oh yeah, absolutely, I will. And that's usually gets them to do it. So
right. Good. Shannon, how about you? What was your top one or two takeaways from the session? You'll have to unmute.
Um,
There you go. Go. Good. You're
yeah,
good.
thanks. So I would say since it's pretty small right now, it's my husband and myself mostly working together really closely. I'd say 4 and 5 with poor communication and not building your team. So training stuff. So I learned certain things and he learned certain things over here, and then we don't talk about the two things in between.
Hmm.
So I think those two things go together for us.
Yeah. By the way, what I found with couples that have business together, they don't generally miss the discipline, and they need it more than ever. The discipline of a team meeting, a
Yes.
manager meeting, because you assume I don't know, I'm thinking, just thinking that you assume like we see each other all the time, we talk all the time, blah blah blah, but you have to have the discipline of that meeting, and if you don't, you're going to deal with the consequence of unalignment. You're going to have friction. You're not going to be on the same page. And your communication is going to be in damage control and crisis and, dealing with, it's going to turn a little dramatic and those kind of things if you're not. So you have to be extra structured based on the nature of relationship to be able to, all right, what's our agenda for the week? What are we focused on? What are we doing? What are you doing? What are your priorities? And that can't slip just because you sleep together. So, Mike, what was your top one or two takeaways? What? Oh, hang on. While Mike's figuring his unmute
Getting
button.
split because you sleep together. That's my top takeaway.
All right, good.
Yeah. So we got a handful of new people, and we start with vision and culture points. And we, to the point in our practice, if they push back too hard on that, we cut them loose
Mhm.
because it's the foundation of all sorts of leadership. It makes hiring, I mean, you know all this, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Clarity. Um, But we were doing podcast recording today, and Jackie reminded me of some things that I had to do, go through in the last year when we kind of recrafted our business. And it was a good reminder that nobody's going to go faster than you as the leader. In our case, there's no way Jackie, Corey, Beth, Daryl, Rain, they're not going to outgrow me. They're not going to outlearn me. And on the one hand, it makes the work as a leader much different than I ever thought it would be. On the other hand, it's a hell of a lot more fun. So to watch them try to keep up instead of trying to cajole them into coming along for the ride. So, but we start everything with culture, their culture points.
But good. Jay, what was your takeaway? What'd you get out of this?
Man, they were all good, but the biggest one, biggest, top 3 or 4 was, not building my team and lack of delegation. I'm training an assistant right now, so that's really, helping me. But how training goes, it takes time to recoup that investment of that person. And overworking. I'm kind of a one-man show with that assistant now, but building the team and accountability is really about building a system, and that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Okay. All right, good. Thing that stood out when I was thinking about you, Jeremy, being somebody who makes quick decisions, that makes decisions, and you've just self-described yourself before as, I already know what to do. Our decision's already made. I make that pretty quick. But holding yourself back and that not making the decision in the moment and maybe stepping back and going, okay, hey, what is so against your nature to go, let me think about that and come back to you tomorrow? Because you've got that decision. Problem is that decision could be in haste, could be in the emotion of the moment, could be in the, with some perspective. I don't know if you often look back on your decision and go, maybe maybe that didn't go the way I wanted to do. But anyway, that's take it from Brad, the screaming high DI. A lesson he had to learn over time was not making decisions in the moment or based on emotion, that given some time to, process and go back and think about it. And so I've watched him develop that skill in the air over the years in certain areas and not fire off immediately. It's not perfect, but that happens a lot. And,
But make another decision. They just make another one.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Which freaks out your people that don't like a lot of change. Oh, he says this one day, one this day, and that's a capital crime for some of those people that don't like a lot of change. The S's and the C's of your world, the leases of your world that maybe are a little bit slower to that. Understanding people's communication styles as well. Just keep in mind that, knowing what their disc behavioral styles are, that different people are, you got to know how to deliver to different behavioral styles. And so, if you haven't, if you're not familiar with DISC or looked into that, that's something you might want to look into. By the way, we have access to some of those assessments for yourself and your team if you'd like. And then, even love languages, are a different modality of, knowing how to communicate appreciation and love to each other. So those are different, ways that you communicate, whether it be love or, your behaviors, your talk, your speech. There's a lot of depth to that, so getting some training on that would be helpful. So, all right. So that's really all I got. We got a little bit smaller crowd today, so we'll keep it kind of tight on time. I did want a quick reminder and quick run through of again, the rest of the series next week. Winning the battle for great people: how to attract, hire, and train great employees. I'll give you a key to when there's a number involved, top 20. Those are ones Brad's teaching. The ones without the numbers in it, I'm teaching. So next week will be the Coach Reggie show, and I'll be training and teaching winning the battle for great people. So if you or anybody has struggled, or you hear them say, "Man, it's hard to find good people," and the more the more victim-y version of that is, nobody wants to work. Can't find anybody that wants to work. Nobody wants to work. And that's not true. There are plenty of people working out there. They just don't work for them. Plenty of people out there that want to work. So if you find people in that, in that mindset, I can't handle too many victims on one call. So don't bring a truckload of them, but somebody really somebody that we can save, somebody we can help, that is open-minded to learning some ways to be able to attract more people. So I'm going to teach a lot of best practices and things that we've learned. I work with growing businesses that are on the front lines, and they are people thirsty. They need people in a big way. So the ability to recruit well, to be able to, oh my goodness, how to write more effective job ads. One of the reasons they don't have good flow is they're relegated to the job boards, and they do not know how to write an effective marketing piece to attract people. And by the way, one of the problems is they don't realize that they're writing a marketing piece. They post a job description on all the things the job wants, as opposed to balancing that, or maybe weighting heavily towards what would the ideal team member want. So making sure that you're writing a job advertisement that sells. So that'll be a part of it. And then once we have attracted them by a good ad, then how do we make sure we screen them so we don't hire the wrong person? And then also overcoming the fallacy and the old saying of you got to hire slow and fire fast. Well, there's a reason why that's not a thing anymore. You hire slow, your competitor has snatched them up in the meantime. So there's a little bit different way at looking at hiring. So anyway, we're going to cover a lot of those kind of things on how to make sure that you capture talent, attract them, screen them, and get the best people on board. Most people haven't been trained in those things, so we'll share some best practices that are working for the people I work with, and they're taking market share of people from their competitors that are going, can't find anybody that wants to work. So anyway, and so that's what's next week. So I hope you'll join us, bring some folks along. And it's funny, I learned a lesson last week. I used Brad in my a couple of my, I kind of let him lead in my marketing pieces, and my database didn't respond to that as well as me seeing me. Because they don't know Brad as well as they know me. So I learned a lesson in the marketing phase of so we'll see. Anyway, interesting learnings as I'm going through this first webinar series. So thank you for being my guinea pigs. So anyway, so I'll, by the way, I've got the 30X challenge that's kicking off on the end of the month on May 29th on Thursday. It's kind of the next cohort of that. If you're liking what you're learning from me and Brad, it's a way to get a master's level education in the profession or in the endeavor of growing a business. So, we cover all the key areas of growing a business. Really, it's getting an education in and learning the Action Coach business operating system that we use to grow businesses. So this is the learning phase. And, it's something we do in 30 days, 30 minutes a day. Shannon actually had a good question for me via email. She's like, how much time does this take? 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes a day-ish. The only ish is you got to do this thing to where you type in your top 3 learnings. So it depends on how long it takes you to process that. So 35 minutes max a day. And that's if you do Brad on 1.0 speed. Maybe you can hear fast enough to do it at 1.25 and go a little quicker. So it's on your own. You do 30 minutes a day. There is one once a week support call that's a bonus if you'd like to be able to get some help support. It's kind of an extra freebie coaching call that comes in there. So and then on completion of that challenge, you get some cool benefits at the end. But what I would say is one of the keys to getting where you want to go is getting knowledge and education. So I may be preaching to the converted in this live environment. This is getting recorded. Some of the people that registered didn't attend. This is for some of them as well. So so if you know anybody that would benefit from learning how to grow a great business in a very concentrated way that makes sense for somebody that's already, the car's already going around the track when it comes to getting their business ownership growth education. So they just need to get a 30-minute pit stop a day, learn a little chunk, go out and apply. And if they know anybody that benefit from that, connect with them and we'll talk about, we'll let them apply and see if it makes sense for them to participate in the program. So that's coming up the 29th. The next cohort is, so I hope some of you will join us. Other than that, that's all I got for today.